Hello and welcome to another Fireside Chat with MBH. I'm your host, Melissa Jeanette Shea, and we are here at the 2022 MBH Principals Retreat in the Lake District in the United Kingdom. So I'm honored to be here with a guest who's one of our leadership roles in MBH, Vikki. So Vikki, could you tell everybody about your name and where you're from?
Yeah, of course, and good to be with you.
Yeah.
So I'm Victoria Sylvester. I am CEO of Acacia Training, which was one of the founding companies in the group. And I also sit on the board of MBH to represent the other company owners in the group, which I've done since 2018.
Yeah, and you do a wonderful job at it too. Yes. So tell us a little bit about your company, because not only do you sit on the board, you were one of the founding companies that came in.
Yeah.
And you were the first women-owned company too, right? So tell us a little bit about Acacia.
Yeah, so Acacia Training has been going since 1999. We incorporated in 2000 as a business, and we focus on education in the UK. So we deal with a range of programs such as apprenticeships to getting people into jobs, to upskilling people on programs that deal with things like student loans. So we've got quite a diverse offering, and we operate mainly in health and social care, wellbeing spaces, residential childcare, dental nurses, beauty sports, so that kind of health and wellbeing bracket. And we teach around 5,000 students a year.
Right.
On a variety of all kind of different programs. So yeah, quite diverse and busy.
Right. So when you first came on to MBH, did you have as many programs as you have now, or have you grown since you've been?
No, we've absolutely grown. So when we started, we had around 60 members of staff. We're now up to about 200 plus employees in the business. We had about 3 or 4 different revenue streams coming in. We're now up to around 16 different revenue streams coming in. We've diversified our programs. So yeah, absolutely, definitely grown. Been one of the best decisions we made coming in.
Coming in, right? And you did that all through COVID, right? So you were able to expand even during a global pandemic. What was that like for you? And how did you do it?
I mean, we definitely had a plan coming into the group that we wanted to grow. It was one of the reasons for coming in. So, and people say to me, "Oh, how does that happen?" And it doesn't happen for one reason. There's a number of things. I mean, just being in the whole ecosystem of other business owners and the ideas and the contacts and all the kind of sharing we do has played a huge part in our growth. But when we went into COVID, because we'd already got that growth plan, we'd actually built some really good foundations. So actually when the pandemic hit, we were really well placed. We weren't on the back foot because we'd put infrastructure in and resources and processes and, building up, rapports and business relationships and all that. So we'd got that in place. And if anything, the pandemic accelerated some of that, because in the UK, the education system then got turned around a bit so we could respond to the pandemic. So, in chaos sometimes creates opportunity. So for us, yeah, we were well placed to grow, and then we did, and we won quite some significant contracts during that time. We did huge programs with organisations such as Skills for Care, for example. So Skills for Care is about, they regulate the industry to a point in terms of education and skills, but it was about getting people into jobs. So we've put around 2,000 people through a rapid induction programme into social care. And off the back of that, that's actually fed on to further qualifications. So they might have gone on then to do an apprenticeship and so on. So yeah, it was a really interesting time, challenging. I'm not going to say it was a breeze, it was certainly challenging. Certainly challenging, but I think we approached it with a can-do attitude. What can we do? Rather than focusing on what we couldn't control. And I honestly think that's been the key to ensuring we could get through that quite successfully.
And you were pretty instrumental to helping, because quite a number of companies came in during the pandemic. So I was one of them. And, it's very intimidating coming into the company at first, because you don't know what you're coming into, right? So it's on the unknown. And then we have a global pandemic, so you're concerned about your business. But it was that support you kept providing for all of us, and just bringing us all together. And then all of us supporting each other through that,
Yeah, and definitely, one of the things we did straight away was every week we jumped on a call together. And even if that was just to say, what's going on, what can we do, what are you doing, how are you responding, I'm really struggling with this. And that's part of the benefit of being in the group. You don't need that all the time.
Right.
But certainly in times of crisis, if you like, or big challenges, we were all impacted. It was, it's one of them situations where we're all impacted. So pulling everybody together was absolutely critical. And for new companies coming in, there's been some benefits to it, but there's also been some things that have been harder. Building those connections, as well as running your business, as well as settling in. So for the people that joined, including yourself, it's incredibly brave. And, I always say naivety has a place in business where, if you knew, you wouldn't do stuff. So, on the flip side, it can only be easier in a way, because those companies coming in have come at a very challenging time. So, but it was really nice, because I think it also gave a bit of a family feel to us all, and we've been through a journey together now that we'll always have that. We'll always remember that journey we went on together and taking care of one another. And it was it's a weird thing. There's still some things in there that I'll always hold quite precious, actually, from off the back of the last few years. It's a really strange thing.
Yeah. So what made you join MBH? Like, what attracted you? Because you were one of the first. You pretty much were one of the first companies on board. So how did you take that leap of faith? What attracted you to the vision of MBH?
Yeah, I think there was a number of reasons. I think the biggest one for us was around the next challenge and the next step. So we'd reached a point in the business where to get to that next step was hard on our own. We wanted to have more people around us, that infrastructure, that knowledge and expertise. So we wanted to keep our talent, we wanted to develop our talent. So all of that really contributed. So from a business perspective, there was lots of benefits, and procurement was another one. If we wanted to go for bigger contracts, having a parent company behind us put us in a good position. But I think with any SME, there's a personal element to it. It isn't actually just about the business benefits. It's about you as a leader and your legacy and what you want to achieve. And I don't know, I was ready for a new challenge. Yeah. I love my business. I didn't want to leave my business, but also I'm just ready for something else.
Because it gets a routine to you after a while, right? And I think that's one of the beauties of MBH, is that you still get to run the business. You're completely still running it the way you normally did, but now you're connected to a group that could only enhance and grow. Like you said, I'm ready for the next challenge, right? And so saying that you're a publicly listed company comes with new challenges, new frontiers and barriers to break through. So
definitely. And so many people say when they joined in, I've fallen back in love with my business. I hear it a lot.
I was definitely one of those.
And I get that. I can relate to that. And I think what it is that you start to see your business through a different lens. Yes. You were so used to seeing it through one view, and that's the view you've done for 15, 20 years, that when you're then placed with people outside of that, you look at it differently. And it takes a different direction. So it's absolutely fascinating. I'm sure somebody will do a study on it one day, but that's what I think it is. I think this different perspective makes you fall back in love with your business,
So one of the important things to note is that you're a woman-owned business. I'm a woman business owner. And we were reading these statistics at lunch today about how just 4 years ago in the UK, only 17% of the population are women-owned businesses. And in just 4 years, it went to 34%, which shows that we're one of the fastest growing dynamics or demographics of business owners. Yeah. What advice would you give to a woman who's watching this video, who has their own business? Why would MBH be helpful for them? And what could you share about your journey to another woman who's maybe watching this?
I think the first thing I would say to any woman thinking about this is kick that imposter syndrome to the curb, get rid of it, because actually once you're in, everybody is the same. you know, whatever gender, we've all had the same experiences, same feelings, and you can do it, and actually can probably really thrive within the group. So I think for a lot of women, they don't put this kind of thing on their radar. You know, so be open-minded and learn and embrace it. But yeah, I think the biggest thing is just think, I can do this.
Yeah.
And even though there's some bits I don't know, maybe there's quite a bit you don't know, it doesn't matter, because you can learn. I think as women, we tend to want to have everything perfect and go in knowing everything. But actually, if you let that guard down a little bit and think, actually, there are some things I need to learn, but I'm open to learning, you'll probably really, really benefit from the experience. There was loads I didn't know when I came in. There was tons I didn't know.
Right? We joke about that all the time. But it is true. I think that for a lot of women, they don't even put this on their radar. They don't even think, oh, I could one day be a publicly traded company. And as a small business owner, right? So I think making them more aware of that is possible. Great leadership. You headed up the women's leadership group to just help inspire them to say, look, you can do this. It's quite possible.
Yeah, I think a lot of women-run businesses have started up as a side hustle as well.
Yeah.
You know, around childcare or around a permanent job. And, you know, you've got all these entrepreneurs that they're there, but it's a side hustle, you know, and we have breaks in our journey. Right. You know, we go off, we have children, and there's many women that have built a business up and then they've had to take a big long break, and then they've had to kind of start again or start from a different point. And I suppose it's helping other women understand we've all been there, we understand, but being part of a collective can actually make those journeys better. It can only enhance it. So they are different journeys, but that doesn't mean they're any less. Right. You know, that doesn't mean they're any less or anything. And you can come in from, you know, a multitude of starting points and grow with the group, not on your own.
Very cool. And so what advice would you give to an investor who might think about investing in our stock? What would you say about the companies in MBH, and from an insider's point of view, what would you say? Yeah,
I think to investors looking in, I don't always, it's really hard to externalise the culture of MBH and how resilient and resourceful and intelligent and adaptable the company owners are. But I think the biggest thing that shines through is the commitment. They're actually really committed. They care about their companies, they care about each other, they care about what happens to the group. They always act in the interests of the group, you know. So it's hard to externalise that. Yeah. And it's one of them, I think, when people walk through the door and they get to experience it, they go, this is absolutely amazing. Like, how have you created this? So if I was looking at it from an investment point of view, it's different. And different is sometimes good. And in this case, it is excellent. So they should really, really invest and think about, especially things like, you know, I'm very passionate about the environmental and the social elements of what we do. All these businesses do so much for their communities, creating jobs, supporting local charities, supporting things outside of that. You know, they do so much because that's where they started. They started with a purpose. Right. And that often gets lost and forgotten over 20, 30, 40 years of running a business, but they all started because of a purpose. Right. And they retain that. They don't ever lose that. And, you know, it's one of the nice things about the owners staying in the group and being able to run the business is that they can keep those values and keep that ethos. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's absolutely amazing that, yes, you're right, the culture cannot be described, because you can't buy that talent, you can't buy that resilience, you can't buy that stick-to-itness, even during a time of pandemic. Nobody thought about ever giving up. That wasn't even a possibility. It was just, how do we grow? How do we keep growing? And that's our focus, right? So it's, you know, part of our values is that trust, that collaboration, and velocity of growth and expansion. So
there's a reason we all got through. You know, there's 28 companies. You know, if you were to look at the law of averages of 28 SMEs getting through, there's a reason we all got through. And it was because of that solidarity and the positive approach we had. We just, right, what can we do? what can we do?
And we still continue to grow in 2021.
And ideas,
Yeah.
and and how we pulled together, and you can't buy that, to be honest. It's worth investing just for that.
Yeah, that's true.
Because it will stand the test of time.
Very cool. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Vicki.
No problem.
And thank you for watching this episode of Fireside Chat with the lovely Vicki. She is our leadership in MBH, and I really do appreciate the barriers and the frontier she's left for so many of us. So thank you again for joining us on MBH's Fireside Chat. I'm your host, Melissa Jeanette Shea. Thank you.